matter. The building, Yaakov Avinu, after being a recipient of this great prophecy of receiving 5 haftachot, 5 promises of God, morning arrives, he gets up. Until then, he was still lying down. And he builds a matzeva. The Ramban and many others explain the difference between someone said a mizbeach, an altar, and a matzeva. A mizbeach is comprised of many stones, whereas a matzeva is made out of one stone. A mizbeach is upon it, we bring korbanot. However, a one-stone matzeva is usually for the pouring of wine, like a wine libation, or oil. Matzevot, you may know, are forbidden for the Jewish people. When we get to the time of the book of Shemot, after the giving of the Torah, since the Canaanites would use them themselves consistently for their idol worship, God forbid the Jewish people to build a one-stone edifice. Now, if you were Yaakov Avinu, would you not sleep a little later? Why get up so early in the morning? It says vayashkem. Every time we see the verb vayashkem, is it clear to us that it's early in the morning? Wouldn't you just want to sleep on this for a few hours after getting all these promises? Why is he getting up so early? Who has an answer for me? So what does he want to do? No, why is he getting up early?
Because business is not going to get you good morning, it's not going to tell you good night.
What is his business?
Like faith, God, business.
Very nice. So you're saying it's time for prayer, it's time to prayer, say thank you to Hashem. Very nice. And the best thing to do is do it early in the morning. You had other ideas, gentlemen?
He's in a mission.
He's in a mission. Okay. So he's getting up. He takes the even, before it was avanim, compiled together as one. Midrash talks metaphorically how all the stones were competing to be the stone upon which Yaakov could rest his head. It's as if there's one stone. And he builds the matzeva from one stone. And then, as we see, Vayitzok shemen al rosha. He pours oil. Okay? Some of you may know there's a spiritual quality of oil. Okay? Oil is very, very noble. Nobility, wisdom, light. Okay, and there's a spiritual matter of pouring oil. He's doing it for the sake of God. And then we come to the secret, what you asked, Steve. Vayikrat Shem HaMakom, who gives a name calling of the place. Oi, is that number 6? Hamakom. Wow. You guys are counting with me. Again, he's using Hamakom. Well, we want to get to the bottom of this matter. Why does the term Hamakom repeat and repeat and repeat itself? And he calls this place Beit El, end of the middle of the pasuk. V'ulam, however, there's a former name, Luz Shem Ha'ir Larishona. Beit El, little translation, the house of God. There are several midrashim, and there's a big machloket between Ramban and Rashi. And I just want to bring you one approach of several approaches that appear to here. And this will explain, Aleph, what's the usage of Hamakom, Hamakom, Hamakom. And number 2, the greatness of a place called Beit El. Yaakov Avinu traveled from Beersheba. He passed Yerushalayim. And he started going eastbound to Haran. It's quite a trip. The Midrash says he forgot to make a pit stop and in Yerushalayim. No, not because there's a Hilton Hotel there, or there's a Carvel ice cream place there, or a Golda ice cream place there. Okay? Rather, he knows that his father, Yitzchak, was bound and brought atop of a mountain called Mount Moriah. And that's Hamakom. And when he passed by, he should have thought, I should have taken off my sack, whatever, my backpack, thank you, and prayed to God in such a holy place. And he forgot. And as he's getting closer and closer abroad, he turns around and says, I want to make a U-turn. He starts turning around, and then miraculously, something happens. He's coming back, and he wants to go to Yerushalayim, and he gets to Beit El. The Ramban says, Yerushalayim was uprooted. Yerushalayim was taken from its place and placed upon Beit El. Hamakom. And there, in this place, Beit El, that's where he had his dream. In Beit El. And the reason the Torah repeats Hamakom, it's because of the greatness of Beit El. Yerushalayim has been uprooted. A very metaphysical idea of the greatness of Beit El. And this place has already formerly a name called Luz. That's the former name of the place. Apparently it was outside the town, not inside the town. And this place carries on later on. When Yaakov Avinu comes back into the land after 20 plus years abroad, he's asked, Kum alei Beit El v'shev sham. This past Shabbat, yours truly spent Shabbat with 3 of his kids. A soldier who the first time we spent Shabbat with him ever since the war happened, and 2 married daughters that their husbands are enlisted. So we went to a place called Beit El, and we spent Shabbat there. And right now, we lived there for more than 20 years. We built a home there with raised our children in Beit El. And right now, I'm looking on the new building of the City Hall of Beit El, the Regional Council Office of Beit El, which was recently built the last 2 years. And on top, in letters that are lit up, the promise, the command that I just repeated to you aloud, that appears in the next parsha, I think, Vayishlach, Kum alei Beit El. Get up and rise to Beit El, v'shev sham, and dwell there. Beit El becomes a very popular place for Yaakov Avinu. So does it become for the nation of Israel. And Avram Avinu, his grandfather, that was his second stop when he came into the land of Israel. He came first into where? Shechem, built an altar, and then he traveled on the mountain ridge and stopped in Beit El and built an altar and called out to the name of God. And we see during the Beit HaMikdash HaRishon period, Beit Rishon, the Jewish people living there over the course of hundreds and hundreds of years. So here we have an interesting thing. Yerushalayim is uprooted and comes to Beit El. And he calls the place Beit El. And then he makes a vow. As we're ending our shir today, Pasuk 20, Vayidar Yaakov Neder Lemor. Are you allowed to make a vow? Of course you are. Let's see for what perhaps, if you wanted to, gentlemen, to make a vow, although we stay away from it today, God forbid we don't violate it, then we have no way of doing tshuva, or it's very hard to do tshuva. Let's say people would vow to bring a korban, okay? Or they would make a vow to dedicate property to the Holy Temple. The criteria regarding a vow is you could be making a vow. Let's say you don't want to eat ice cream. You can prohibit the object on yourself. Okay, that's a prohibitive vow. But there's also a type of a affirmative vow, a positive vow. For instance, there's a type of positive neder vow obligating the service of Hashem, and that's what he wants to do. He wants to obligate himself as doing the service of Hashem as his major business, like you said before, Chai. This will be his major occupation of his life. I want to serve Hashem. Let's see it in the words. Im yeh Elohim imadi. This is the wording of the vow. If God will be with me, ushmarani baderech hazer asher anochi elech, and God will what? Protect me on this road that I'm going on. V'natan li lechem lachol, and gives me food to eat. Uveged lubosh. According to Rashi, if Hashem will fulfill His promises, okay? In other words, Yaakov Avinu is stipulating the following matters. That what? If God keeps what He's doing to me, I'm going to make my life serving Hashem. There's an obvious question. It says here in verse 21, V'shafti b'shalom, if I return in peace to my father's house, then God will be for me leilokim, meaning the land of Israel, not Chutz La'aretz, will be for me. Now, let me ask you something. If Yaakov was promised by Hashem the above promises, that he's going to be guarded for and taken care of and so on and so forth, what's the issue to make a vow conditioning the fulfillment of these promises? What's the matter? Yaakov Avinu doesn't have trust in Hashem, in His promises? So this today will answer the famous answer that's brought in our Gemara by Chazal, Masechet Brachot. Yaakov's heart was pounding to a certain amount. Yes, Yaakov certainly has trust in God, but you know he doesn't have trust in himself. Yaakov is not perfect. Is he sure he will not sin? Will it be that he might make some mistakes? Yaakov is fearful that maybe he might make some mistakes, and that will cause maybe the promises not to be fulfilled. So from here we see that a tzaddik really in this world never will be so sure to get what he wants. He will always say, you know what, I may make a mess up. I'm not perfect. And therefore Yaakov wants to push himself even more, making a vow. Have to be more strong, more alert, more careful, more willing to serve Hashem, and so on and so forth. We'll continue with this, God willing, B'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow with a new chapter.